welcome to the Bear Right Trail podcast. I am your host, Sam Kirk, and I am here tonight with my very good friend Ferdinand Airault. Off, how many performances is it now that get lined up here? His brilliant blue eyes being brought out by his skyline in the background there. For those who are bringing in the podcast with the video, you'll know what I'm talking about. But just so happy to be here and to be catching up with you tonight, Ferdinand.
For the invite. And, sorry we couldn't do the run today. The weather was not very helpful.
Yeah, so we both did our runs. We had the idea to record a podcast, either not necessarily during the run, but maybe after the run. And weather was not cooperating to do that out on the trail today. That'll have to wait for another time, but we'll get there.
After UTMB.
Yeah, maybe to UTMB. And I'm starting to hone in on some racing myself here as far as what I want to do. Chris and I discussed it in the last podcast. I was kind of between doing Hurricane 100K and Grindstone 100 mile. And I'm starting, we were thinking I was going towards the 100K with Hurricane, but I don't want to take my hat out of the ring, so to speak, with these races like Hard Rock and UTMB, where racing Grindstone would give me that opportunity. So I'm still undecided there.
You keep the suspense.
Yeah, I'll keep everyone in suspense. It'll be very, very intriguing for all of our listeners to find out what is Sam going to do next.
Exactly. Yes, and I might join you if you go to one or the other, depending on the schedule. But I should be back in the US and in New York, so
That's
who knows?
right.
Maybe
That's
I can
right.
even do your support or crewing or even race a short distance in Greenstone. So let's keep in touch. Let's keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. I forget about that because it's August for UTMB, right?
Exactly.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. I knew that everything was kind of close together there. Like you can't really do both, but you can show up somewhere. And the
Exactly.
way that you race, you're very prolific with it. So, um, for those that don't know, Ferdinand won the Canyons 100 in course record time, and this was a very big result. Just I'm I can't wait to hear about it. I can't wait to hear about everything that happened out there. It's like the stage of American trail racing. So it's really cool to have you here tonight and to be able to catch up on that. But before we get into that, what was your day like today? What did you get into today?
Today was a bit special because tomorrow we are flying to New Orleans with my spouse and parents. So it's gonna be more like a family trip. And I heard there are good night jazz club in New Orleans, but for the running scene, doesn't look so great. So I did most of my workout start of the week. So a lot of biking. We had a wonderful sunshine on a Monday and Tuesday. So I did a big break on Monday with a guy that I'm coaching. Like we are coaching. I'm not coaching him directly, but I have my business partner, Marin Gauthier, who is a pro triathlete and who is coaching actually GJ, who qualified for the World Championship in Ironman this summer in
Wow.
Nice. So he's a good rider, and yeah, we went together uh, for with together with Cyril, another friend of mine from our Aravepa team. We did a 200K up in New York, and I followed by 25K of running. So this kind of big block, big
Oh,
break,
wow.
of course, is from the what's the name, the triathlon community, but my my friend Will Murray is doing a lot of those, and
Oh yeah.
I think yeah, it's working well for him, and I think it's something that is interesting because you create some pre-fatigue on your legs by doing between 5 to 8 hours effort on the bike. Basically, you are Z1, Z2, and after you try to do a run, pushing a little bit like race pace, and yeah, with Will, we it was good because we could push on the trails. But in New York, I just push a little bit in Central Park, and yeah, it was a nice effort. Tuesday, we tried also another bike, but we had a little accident because yeah, New York is not great for riding, so we had to yeah, we just did half of the ride, so 100K plus some running, and yeah, today Wednesday I was supposed to do a bit more of running as well. I was expecting to see you Sam, but finally we canceled. So I did some paperwork and even though I left my job, I still have like some duties.
Yeah.
So like yeah, I don't know if it's interesting, but yeah, I had to book my flight tickets to go to Colorado and to go to France. I had to prepare also because we are co-organizing a race. So it's actually I'm involved in the original ID, but I will not be there. And Kyle and the other guy are doing like most of the work to prepare Glacial 1000, which is a race gonna happen in a Prospect Park. So they are doing a great job. It's already sold out, like just a small little race, but we wanted to develop something in Prospect Park. So it's called 1000 because we still have for 10 miles 1000 feet of elevation gain. So a bit of like yeah things to check about this race, and we'll have other on this series. Yeah, what else for today? I'm cooking. I love cooking, so I bought some tuna and I prepared a little marinade. I with JJ that we are that I'm coaching. We did a bit of swimming as well, a bit of strengthening. I had a call with the feed to discuss, partnership and things like that. Even if I'm not like a sponsored athlete by them, we have like some. They are helping me a lot with the nutrition. As you
Yeah.
know, I eat a lot of gels during training and race, so it's amazing to have the feed with me. And because I'm heading to Colorado soon, I will visit their warehouse. But every month they are doubling size, so I
Brilliant.
yeah expect to have a nice visit there. And yeah, we are discussing about can I organize some pop-up events in Asia end of year and in Europe first in summer. So yeah, just a lot of things going even when I'm not running.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a full day. That's a full day in the life of a burgeoning pro trail athlete. So that's
Yeah.
that's what it takes.
So go into yeah into bracket. I'm not sure I can define as a pro, but yes, to a guy who spend a lot of time running and but
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can expand the definition a little bit. I think that running is your profession. You
yeah,
know?
no, yeah. I mean, it's just like you have so many people who say, "Oh, I'm pro," but yeah, what is pro? Like, if you are pro, that means that you get you manage to live with the running, and so far with just the racing, I definitely cannot afford living here my life in New York, and like and even so after like I would say like there is a bit the entrepreneurship work that helped me with the coaching. I'm preparing a training camp also 2 weeks before UTMB with a company called Nexus for South American. So yeah, this helps also to so it's combining the passion of running with other activities and and yeah but yeah I think it's a good topic, and maybe we can discuss that a bit later. I always wanted to know, okay, should I consider myself as a pro because I put like most of my day's effort in getting better into running, or is a pro runner someone able to live from the running? And yeah, so far it's a big question mark for me. But anyway, I love running and I don't care. I just like spend time on it, and now I have like the flexibility to be a kind of full-time athlete, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little complicated because, especially with like the advent of social media and the the idea of whether performance is what makes you a professional or whether it's your influence in order to sell shoes or product and
Yeah,
that sort of thing. So, um, if you, I, how I consider it is if you are treating running as your profession, you're a professional athlete. You're a professional runner, and I see that's what I see in you is seeing you treat it as your profession. You have uh, and also running, like just running is your profession as far as coaching it, as far as events, training camps, all of the pieces of it. Um, that's a profession, you know, in
yes.
my opinion.
No, no, it's great. Yeah, it's just like you never, you don't want also to be arrogant and say, okay, I've been running like I would say full time for a bit more than 1 year, and you have says incredible athletes who did 3 times Olympic game, were running for 10 years, and yeah, now I think they can consider themselves as pro runner, and yeah, sometimes I'm still a bit shy to say, okay, I'm pro, but I would say it's a project. It's a
Okay,
it's
I
a
like that.
project. It's
I
a big
like that.
project, and it's a common project also because my wife, I would say, is also into it because she accepted me to live my life and dedicate a lot of time
Yeah.
of my time and her time to this project and to running. And so yeah, it's a project in life, I would say, and yeah, whether you are professional or not, yes, it's a passion at least.
Well, so um, you've been running or with Aravaipa for some time now, and have had some really great results. JFK was spectacular. You also have had wonderful performances out at Black Canyon as well. Really smoking times. Um, where so this canyon's 100 mile with all of these great performances that you've had. Where does this race rank for you? And sort of take us through it. Take us into this race, this experience.
So the story behind it is I'm so my dream is still to so I had two race I was dreaming actually. I have four race, obviously the four big that in my heart are Western State, UTMB, Hard Rock, and Diagonal des Fous. But because I'm in the US and you never know how long you stay in your country, I was hoping to do Western States before UTMB, and maybe when I come back in Europe, focus on UTMB and do more this kind of trail running. And I have been chasing the golden ticket, so I did 3 races, 2 time Black Canyon and 1 time Javelina. And even though I could be more or less close to getting the golden ticket, unfortunately I didn't manage to get one, which keeps the suspense ongoing.
Mhm.
And I wanted to try a fourth time in Canyon, and when I asked them if I could get an invite for the race, because that's super expensive already to take the Airbnb, the flight ticket, paying for all the stuff. I expect like now when I race, trying to have a bit the advantage of like the professional, as you said.
Mhm.
And they told me I was missing like 3 points of UTMB index or something like it's ridiculous, and that they could invite me for the 100 miles and not the 100K. And I mean, it was not a question only of $200 or 300 or 400, I don't remember, but it was more like, okay, I have been also like kind of failing several times on big races like Black Canyon. Do I really want to like maybe do a top 10 in a very, very competitive fields, maybe a top five? Or do I want to try to win this 100 miles and maybe like just having a boost of confidence, playing it a bit differently, playing not the time, but playing the place. And also it would give me also a qualifier for UTMB for next year. So it could be like a project for me, like to like even though I don't qualify for Western State, I will have another big race like UTMB. So I had really to think about the pros and cons, and in terms also of efforts, I was fine of doing this 100 miles, and I think I could recover for the summer, and so I decided to give it a try and go there for the 100 miles and try to win. This was really in my head, so I didn't really watch so much the people in the field because I didn't want to distract too much from myself and focus really more on my performance than the others. But I was confident that I could win this or at least do a top three. So there were like there's two objectives. And obviously the 100K was much more competitive. But still, I think in 100 miles, we had like a few strong runners. A guy from Colombia, I think we did 15 at UTMB, a Czech guy called like Alex. We did like also a nice UTMB, maybe top 20 or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
25.
That's very good
And
at UTMB.
yes, and a few American runners that I heard about them, like Tommy and Ben, who are like non athletes. So yes, and obviously other people as well. And so I arrived there, and so it was super cool because we arrived as a team, so with a Trailblaze, so the company that
Mm-hmm.
I built, with two guys that I was coaching for their first 100K. One guy, Cyril, with a very close friend of mine, living in New York, who is also part of our Vapor racing team, who was racing the 100K, and he finished 15, I think, which is, I think, decent performance.
Yeah, very good.
My wife was doing the 50K. We had also an ex-colleague who was also in the similar trading desk than me, who left his job as well. Yeah, to do something different. Actually, he wants to open a coffee, so maybe I should put you in touch.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I know you have an amazing coffee in New Jersey. So, like, yes, maybe. And he wanted to try a 100 miles. It was a kind of project. So we were a big team plus some friends who came for support on the plus one. So, and when we arrived, so perfect sunshine, California sunshine. We could redshirt like some part of the course. We arrived a few days prior, uh, and step by step we were like watching the weather forecast, and they announced some snow, and we said, it's not possible. Like how come like it was maybe 80 degrees, and how come we can have some snow? And actually the race fall in this weather window where with the altitude and everything, the 100K actually happens to have a lot of snow at the start.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew that it got cold and wet. I didn't know about the snow.
So it's very funny because each time I'm preparing a lot, with the sauna, the hot bath, a lot of jackets, layers. And last year, same, it was snowing at the start of Black Canyon. This time it was snowing at the start of Canyon. So, and I don't really like cold weather, but it's part of the trail running journey. So I prepared. I had to buy pants. I had to like find extra gear. But because mandatory kits they was getting bigger, they put like extra clothes, extra measures. And yes, we started the race. I started with gloves and like a pant and one actually 2 layers, a t-shirt and an extra layer and a warm hat. And I think I just removed the warm hat. So I kept everything else. I didn't change. And I started so with this guy Ales from Czech Republic, and the weather was not too bad actually because it was not snowy, it was a bit wet, but it was manageable. It was not horrible to run, so pretty good weather. And this guy started pretty fast. We were like, yes, maybe 6 minutes per mile, something like that. Uh,
Oh, yeah, that's pretty quick for the start of 100
yeah,
miles.
I think so. It's in downhill and it's not technical, but still, it's. I think
Yeah, still
it's.
quick. Yeah.
And I stayed with him for almost 1 hour. I think he was pretty good, good downhill on that, but I didn't feel as great to follow him, and I knew he was I mean maybe he had a great day, but I knew at least that I didn't have such a good day. You know that when you start a race, if it's I mean you have time to change, but you know that okay, you are not in the best shape of your life. I don't know. I knew it was not a great day. I checked maybe also the HRV the morning, and it was pretty bad. And I let him go, and uh, after two other guys passed me, so it was Tommy and Ben. Uh, Tommy and Ben. So I tried to stick with them a little bit, and same like in uphill, I felt like they were going too fast for me, and my strategy was to run uphill on the second part of the race and try to do more of power hiking at the first start, and they were running, so I couldn't stay with them, so I let actually three people going front but still confident that I could catch them later. However, you never know. Like you let them go, and you go to the first aid station. They tell you, "Oh, leader is 5 minutes. After second, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes." So the distance were getting bigger and bigger, the gap wider and wider, and I didn't feel so great after like 26 miles, like something like a marathon. I was not great. So I was eating very conservatively. Every 20 minutes, I have a clock in my watch, so I take a gel. And each time I see my crew, so in the assistance point, I have a big Martin 320, so it's an extra drinking mix. And otherwise, I have two flasks, one flask of Bix, so it's electrolytes, and one flask of water. And I was eating and focusing, and I had a lot of like bad thought, like okay, if I don't manage to catch them, if I get too cold, or maybe I'm sweating too much because I have too much layers, like a lot of thoughts, bad thoughts like that. Which I think is it's a great exercise because I worked something that new that I did this year was working with a mental coach. It's Eric Lacroix, with the coach of Mathieu Blanchard as well. He coached also Xavier Thévenard before. So the guy is not putting a lot of in the media, but he's pretty famous, especially in France. He lives in La Réunion, so he knows trail running a lot and running in general. But he's kind of low profile, but yeah, very pro, and I learned a lot from him. And one thing very important, I think all the people listening to the podcast and yourself agree that mental work is important and is part of our sport. But one thing that I learned with him, and I think people can benefit, is actually you can work that prior the race. It's not like you arrive only with some tools during the race that you can activate, like the visualization, like the positive things and stuff like that. But you can actually do some exercise to change your brain. So when you arrive, you are stronger, like a muscle, basically. You can prepare for an uphill, big hills by doing a lot of uphill work. You can prepare actually your brain in that kind of bad moments by doing some exercise. And so it's what I did. And so I was also confident that, okay, even if even mentally and physically I'm not great, I was always refocusing. So each time you have a bad thought, you focus on your here and now. And anyway, I put a full description in my Strava, and I think the feed did a nice article also about that. And I'm happy to answer more questions. But basically, I managed to keep a okay pace, I would say. And I arrived at I think after 70K, something like that, 60K. So the first was 20 minutes ahead, the second 15, and the third one was 5 minutes. And then I told myself, okay, now we are like half of the race. And my plan was to start really the race at this moment. And once again, mentally, I told myself when it's getting dark, the race will start. And I don't know if like mentally, I was like physically, I was not strong because mentally I prepared myself to be weak. But when I start to put my light on, I don't know, the legs were responding much better. So it's kind of crazy, but it's also maybe the focus when you put your headlamp, you are not watching too much around. You are watching just one step after the other. But anyway, I started like feeling much better, and I could catch Ben Quattromoni, who lives also in East Coast actually, with a and I didn't know him so well, and so it was really nice to talk and share a bit more of road together. And to be frank, I didn't think he would be able to keep up the pace with me, and he did. And actually, I'm very grateful he did because it was really nice. We could pull and push each other, and especially he's very good in uphill. So it was super nice to work together the first start of the night. And then we arrived at
So
100K mark. Yeah,
okay,
sorry.
so this is like 50 to 100K.
Yes, it was the 100K. It was between 80K and so 50 miles and 100K.
Yeah, so you're saying so your transition to the evening for your race started around that the halfway point, around 50 miles, and that was when you had previously decided that that was going to be when the race started for you, and then you also had that transitional moment heading into the dark, turning on the lamp, focusing smaller, and also I guess catching Ben at the same time. So
Exactly.
a
Yeah.
lot that's a lot of kind of good energy coming
Yes.
forward right there. That's really good. Yeah.
And it's how I like to race actually. I mean, it depends. I experiment if you ask French people, you, each time I'm in France, I race very aggressive and say, "Oh, this is a French guy living in the US," because they think that American are running with just like a flask and without t-shirt, and they are very aggressive and they blow up
Anton
or they
Krupicka.
win with a crazy time. And it's also a bit my style, but in some races. So in France, actually, so far I raced only like that, and I like racing aggressive like that. And sometimes you have very good surprise. But I feel that the race that I really want to win, I try to be conservative. So in Black Canyon, I was maybe a bit too much conservative, and we discussed I had some issue also with the flask. I forgot and getting lost, whatever. But I enjoyed doing a negative splits, and this time that was really the idea is trying to be stronger the second part than the first part, or at least not fading. And I feel that for 100 miles, you can. It's really useless to take too much risk. I mean, maybe if to win Western State or UTMB you need, but I think, and this is my strategy, even to finish like kind of top 10, top 15 of UTMB, you can race very conservatively. And for a lot of 100 miles, I feel like yeah, you can let people go. There is one statistics very interesting in UTMB. At the quarter of the race, there was a Chinese guy who was placed 100, and he finished, I think, top 10 at the end of the race. So I really have this feeling that pacing it is interesting, and also it's a very virtuous circle because when you feel better along the night and you are catching people who are like fading up, you are better and better and better. And this is exactly what happened. Like when I started to put the light, my legs were responding more. I was eating more, so I had more sugar, so I had more pleasure to run. Then I arrived to the head station, and I had the luck to have that's incredible, because the running community is so nice. I have my friend Soups, who was in New York and living now in Boulder, Colorado, who connected me with David Lamb, who knows like
Okay.
many runners around this place actually in New
Big. He's big in the Bay Area, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I didn't know him, but he just said, "Oh, Ferdi, you're racing Canyon, so let me find you a pacer." And he find Anthony Fagundes that I didn't know before. And this guy, so Anthony was crewing one guy for the 100K the next day, but he agreed to not sleep during all night to pace me. So like, very nice guy, he sacrificed his weekend to do a crew on Sunday and pace me all the Saturday night. So super nice. Uh, and so I arrived, and Anthony was there with my wife actually. So I was a bit angry against my wife because she was supposed to sleep at this time. She was doing the 50K the day after, but she was there to stay
She's
with
excited
Anthony.
about your race. Yeah.
Yeah, so she kind of sacrificed her race for me, which is like I didn't feel so comfortable. But anyway, at this moment, I was happy, I focused, and Anthony was there, and he's a great runner. Same, also very low profile, but I think he did a podium at Way Too Cool. He uh, he won several races. He's a 220 marathon. So yeah, great guy. Like very grateful to have a strong pacer because yeah, in the past I had a great pacer, very nice people, but sometimes you have someone finding you a pacer and after just a few miles they cannot follow, and that's
Yeah.
it's a bit unfortunate. Like even though it's nice like to have someone for a few K. Yeah, this time it was like a five-star pacer because first he was fast, second he knew the race perfectly. And as you know, I get lost very easily. So it was perfect to have someone who knows even like okay on the trail go on the right because the road will be nicer than if you're on the left. So I just had to follow him, and also like on top of that he was super nice and had many stories, so he could tell me okay, this place it's where the Western States in 2017, this guy blew up. And here is on the river, so way too cool. Where this aid station, they were Scott Jurek doing like he told me like so many like nice stories and about like the course, about his training. So actually the time was flying, and we were step by step getting closer to Alès, who was actually the first guy who started with me, the guy from
Yeah.
Czech Republic, was now second because Tommy had actually a great pace at this point. And I asked Anthony, do you think we can catch Alex? He said yes, but we will have to push a bit more in uphill. And that's pretty funny because I'm not a I thought uphill was my strength. I'm pretty light and I like going uphill. But actually, Ben Quattromoni was stronger than me in uphill, and I felt like even Anthony was telling me, "Wow, in a downhill and flat, you are great, but uphill, we need to push a little bit more if you want to catch the other guys." And actually, I didn't take it bad. I realized that okay, in New York City, you cannot be a good climber, even if you are made for that. I think if Kylian Jornet I mean, I would never compare myself with Kylian. Like, I
Yeah.
have a lot of respect. He's a real professional. No, but what I mean is like, I think even if this guy was in New York City, he couldn't be as good in climbing because at some point, if you want to be a good climber, you need to climb. And I love climbing. I worked a bit on that in Hong Kong, and but the last few years I have been focusing a lot on downhill and flat because it was my weakness. And I realized that now the imbalance is a bit different, and it's my uphill that need to be worked. So that's great because I'm going to Colorado in 1 week, and I will work only uphill probably, and so I'm super excited. Anyway,
Yeah.
come back to the race. I forced myself to push a bit more in uphill, and at this point I was like taking a bit of more risk than at the start. So at the start I was jogging uphill and power hiking, and after like with Anthony we started running all the hills and attacking pretty seriously, and it became like a game. Like at some point I feel like we were almost racing each other on some little hills, which was nice, which was really nice. And we saw this guy Ales after I think I don't know maybe 25K, so around around 15 miles, let's say, so 30K.
So you're like
Yeah,
580 in now?
yes, we were. I think we were at one. Yeah, yes, we were maybe 80, 70 miles, 80 miles. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we were a bit further. I cannot recall exactly, but we saw him, and it was a bit sad because this guy come from Czech Republic, and I think he had a crew, but he didn't have pacer. And yeah, I felt a bit bad for him, but I realized that I lost a few races before because not having pacer. So Quebec Mega Trail, I was first until actually I kind of got lost, and I was not very lucid, and I got passed by Jean-François Cochon, who had a pacer. And I think this Black Canyon also, I was without, I had just one guy coming for a few K, so I didn't have pacer, and I felt like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Will Murray managed to finish second and break the course record without pacer, so it's possible to win and be very good without pacer, but I do recommend everyone to get a pacer when it's allowed. It's like you can win a race without water, but like try to drink water, and for me the pacer is so helpful because it's helpful for your mind, it's helpful for the pace, it's so much good motivation. It will help you not to get lost. Once again, at some point the marking was different than the JPEGs, and you say, and if I was alone, I think I would have like hesitate, go right, maybe come back. And this time Anthony said, no, I know the course perfectly. I checked, it's my garden. We follow the marking, the GPX is, and and actually it was right. And this saved me maybe 2 minutes because you don't hesitate. You say, okay, at least I'm following him and he is on duty. I'm not lucid. It has been 15, like 12 hours I'm running. So yeah, this was amazing to have him. And yeah, I was a bit sad to have this to pass this Alice who was alone. But yeah, this is part of the game, and I had to find a pacer. Actually, I put like maybe 15 stories asking for pacer. I sent a message to Kenyans. I sent a message to Aravepa. I think I sent you a message also, Sam.
Yeah.
So I think there are some work to prepare a race that I didn't know before. And like the last few years when I tried to be a bit more professional in the practice, this was part of the job. It's like, okay, you prepare it. And I think this is also something different when you have a full-time job. You cannot like you don't have time to have 15 calls to find someone. I had 3 calls with Anthony to prepare also a bit what I wanted to know a bit more each other because you don't want to be rude, you want to be nice also with him. So you have a chat, you discuss about the so this is a bit of preparation, and I would say also coming back to the mental coaching. when I passed Alice, I think 1 or 2 years before, I would have tried stick with him and try to bring him with me just to because yeah, trail running is also that it's camaraderie and okay, we will work together and finish together and even with Ben when we work together, I was thinking maybe we'll finish hand in hand and it will be a nice story. And actually, my coach told me before the race because I told him about some stories like that happening in the past and said, Ferdi, listen, you are not here to be nice. Like people will not remember nice Ferdi, they will remember if you win. And you will have actually more respect of people and people will respect you more if you give everything. So don't be an asshole, just raise fair play and that,
Yeah.
but you don't have to wait someone. So when I saw this guy, Alas, I mean, I look at Tommy, I look at Anthony, and we actually accelerate just for him not to continue with us. Like he
Yeah.
had basically no chance to keep up with us because I know that it would help him. And yeah, this was I really reflect on that because I say, oh, is it really like that? I want to race on that, but at some point you are now, yeah, you are playing for the podium or for the first place, and you don't want to help too much the other guys. And of course, like when I ran with Ben at the middle of the race in the night, we were helping each other, and I think it was very positive, and that was great. Because but now that I had a pacer, there was like no real interest for me to bring a third guy with us. And yeah, it was a bit sad, but we just took a big breath and we sprint, and the guy we were out of sight after like 1 minute or two.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this is a interesting anecdote for the people because yeah, get a pacer, work with him prior the race, and yeah, it's part of the race. You have to be nice on the trails and very fair play, and work with other people is great, but at some point, yeah, you have to make some move to win. And I heard actually Mathieu Blanchard explaining this strategy. This guy was going even further. On some race, he turned off his light to go behind the guys, and when he's just behind, he turn on and he sprint, and it creates a kind of effect. And I find it like the first time I listened to that, I find it horrible, and after I realize, I mean, it's a game. When I play, I don't know, Monopoly, I will not like say to the people, don't pay when you arrive to my house, or and I think it's also part of the game to do this kind of stuff, and yeah, I begin to understand a bit more the rules of the game and to enjoy it, and it's nice. Like I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's going to have their own tactics with that sort of thing. I've heard about the headlamp games. I don't know that I would do that myself. I would want to keep my headlamp on,
Yeah,
you know,
same.
uh, just for my own safety and that sort of thing. I mean, maybe if you're like running on a road or whatever, you can turn it off. But most of the times I've turned off my headlamp. There have been a couple of times I did a race that started at midnight, and we would turn off our headlamps when we were on these like long dirt road climbs in moonlight just for the experience.
Okay.
It wasn't a competitive
Yeah.
off your headlamp sort of thing. And then I've also turned it off in times where I'm like not in technical stuff just to preserve the headlamp, you
Yes.
know. So I've never done it from a like a tactical situation. I have heard about that happening, but I have to agree with you in the and Chris, my co-host on here, has expressed this before that in racing, if you aren't giving it your all, you're not giving your competitors and the race the full respect they deserve, you know? And when you're coming up on Alex and you're saying, I'm going to make a move here because I want to try to win this race, that's giving him respect as a competitor in the sense that that's what I need to do to try to win.
Yes.
Because if you hang with him and he's just like, oh, like I can't go on, or I don't know, this is all projection, right? But if you're hanging back with him out of sympathy or some sort of thing. That in some ways could be less respectful to him as a competitor,
Yes,
that you're saying I've already beat you,
agree.
essentially, you know? And when you make that move, it's because you feel like you want to try to, you're trying to beat him.
Yes,
And that's the reality. But I also understand there's also the human part of that
yeah,
where you're saying, well, I have a pacer and he doesn't. Like I have an advantage that he doesn't have. Um,
exactly.
but um, but we all know the rules. We've all ran without pacers or with them in different occasions, and not maybe not everybody has done either, but most of us have run races with and without pacers and understand that it's different.
Yeah,
It's different.
no, that's maybe next time he will. Yeah, he will. It's gonna be a good lesson for him to improve and organize a bit more prior race because yeah, he's a great athlete and I'm sure he could have done like a yeah podium, keeping the podium with maybe a pacer or something. I mean, you never know, but he's great. But anyway, coming back to the race now, we were second, and I think Tommy was like 10 minutes ahead, and we had almost like a bit more than 20 miles to get him. So it's a some time, but it's not a lot of time neither. Like
Yeah.
20 miles and make it 6 minutes. Yeah, it's yes, 30 seconds per miles to get from him, something like that. And uh, and yes, and I looked at Anthony and I said, now that we got second, do you think we can get first? And he told me, okay, but you would have to be even more aggressive on the uphills. and and yeah, and it started to, I don't know, unblock something, and I was so after I checked the pace, and it was not as fast as I thought, but when I was racing, I felt like I was doing everything like a 50K, you know. So I was eating. At this point, I was eating just calf gel, uh, and still one calf gel every 20 minutes, mostly. And I didn't have any more crew because Fanny was at last asleep for her own race. So I skipped most of the aid station, and I didn't drink so much because I drank a lot and I could take a bit more risk. So I skipped most of the aid station, uh, running very fast uphill. Sometimes even on downhill, I was ahead of Anthony's and he coached me like, and actually very quickly we managed to reduce the gap, 12, 8, 6, 4, and at some point it was 2 minutes ahead, and we still had like I think five. No, we had 12K. 12K is a bit. It's 8 miles, uh, and I think yeah, in just a few minutes we managed to catch him. Him and MK. So MK is wild
Result.
with a great athlete as well. And I think she was the one pacing him. And yeah, same same than Alice. We arrived and yeah, we ran pretty fast. So we had a nice word also because I remember when he passed me, it was he had a nice word also and like at the start of the race, and so yes, but I felt like he was, yeah, it was difficult for him, which is like yeah, he had a great race. I think it was his first 100 mile, and I felt he was pretty strong. But anyway, like same, no pity. We were like focused on getting there, and so 8 miles for I would say 2 3 miles, we were like running crazy to keep the gap wider and wider. And the last 5 miles, we started talking again with Anthony, and more like, okay, let's uh, let's be conservative, but still focus on not twisting an ankle, or like you never know what happens in a race. Everything can happen. You are tired. It has been 16 hours. 16 hours. You are racing. You are not so lucid, and so yeah, just keep eating, drinking, one step after the other. But what is funny is like we were until we caught him. I was not looking like the watch saying, "Oh, I still have 40 miles to do or 50K or whatever." I was like, "Oh, I don't want this race to finish because I want to catch him." And so I mentally shifting the game by not expecting it to finish, which can be the case, when you are suffering. But okay, we have to accelerate, and I hope this race continue for longer because I want to have time to catch him. And I feel this is also something that maybe the athletes that I coach I recommend is really segment the race at the start, the first 20K, say, oh, I celebrate, I have done a half marathon, then 23K, I have done a marathon, then 50K, I have done a 50K, 100K, I'm a half of the race. And after, rather than thinking, oh, I still have all that, you celebrate, say, oh, I only have that and it's finished. So let's enjoy the most of it. And doing this kind of segment and little stuff helped me like to because 100 miles each time I do a 100 miles, it's huge. I mean, I don't know how it's possible even for a human being to do that, and I did it maybe 5 or 6, 7. I don't recall how many times, but for me as well, each time I'm doing a 100 miles, I don't think it's possible to do it. It looks like
Yeah.
magic tricks. And yes, so I feel that like every magic trick, there is a little secret, and there's the little secret I can share today.
Yeah. Oh man. That's exciting. I mean, come from behind, to be in like that's really cool to be like in racing mode. It kind of makes me feel similar to the have you watched Unbreakable?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like Jeff Rose.
amazing.
Your experience kind of sounds like Jeff Rose, like he wasn't feeling great early on. Just like, it's having trouble bringing things around, and then in the second half of that race,
Yeah, and they
it's
are doing
going
Unbreakable
all
2.
wrong.
Are you aware of that? This year?
Yeah, they're doing the the reboot, but you know what I mean, like, and that's like where he caught Anton is like around the same mileage, right?
Yes.
Like the same sort of thing, and just sort of coming by, the Pacers exchanging looks, and that's the race. I mean, very, very, very cool.
Yeah, that's cool, and yeah, that's why also I like pacing it because when you are catching people, it's an extra boost of energy, and I guess for them because I have been in the situation when I get caught, and I feel it's difficult, it's very difficult, almost impossible when someone is passing you at this point of the race to pass him again, like generally, and yes, I really feel it's hard for them. So it's a vicious circle for by being passed, but it's also a virtuous circle for you. So it's a like a double sword like effect.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely uh in those situations, it's definitely better to be the hunter, you
Yeah.
know, because and well, the other thing is that we were talking about like the headlight situation. I know that um, it's like when we talked about like your headlight, you know, bringing in your focus. Um, if you have the feeling that your headlight needs to be pointed forward all the time, that's that's a good place to be in.
Yeah.
I know that like in some races, where I've felt like the urge to want to turn around with the headlight, you're in a bad place, right? Like if you want to shoot that headlamp back,
Exactly.
like and it's magnified when it's with the headlamp, because you're like not only like is it going to be a situation in which like I'm looking over my shoulder, but whoever is back there, if there's somebody back there, they're going to see that sweep, and they're going to know this person's looking over their shoulder. And
To anyone like don't never look on your shoulder like
yeah,
I think this is not good for your this is not good for your neck first, for your running form, but it's not good for your mental, and it's a really great like good sign for the one behind. And when I think one of my first races in Hong Kong, I remember very well because one guy who was stronger than me at this point. He was like for me one guy that I was really hoping to get the same level of is Ryan. And yes, it was the first time I managed to beat him, and I remember him looking over his shoulder several times and me chasing him on the column and in a time motion no in a Sai Kung hills in Hong Kong. And I will remember all times that I knew that I would catch him, because and he knew it as well. And that's really a hunting game. And I feel like, yeah, never look back your shoulder. And when I was in Brooklyn marathon last weekend, so it was not a great race for me, and it was pretty hot. I remember at some point I felt like I heard some people behind me catching me, and I almost looked, and I remember now the rule that never look back. There is no interest. There is no interest of looking back. So, yeah,
Yeah,
if
no,
they
it
pass,
doesn't
if they have to
doesn't.
pass you, they will pass you. And yes, so that's a good tip. And yeah, and finally we arrived. So we arrived. So it was pretty cool because I did a bit of the race, because it's very similar than Western States, and I had the luck to pace a friend of mine last year. And so I come back in the bridge, where during Western States there is all the flags and all those memories of my friends and all the crew. And like it makes like I was seeing ghosts. I don't know if
No.
it's a runner eye or what, but I was smiling, remembering these past things. And yeah, this is another thing. Is like before, I was not really studying a race, and I was always very happy to discover. And I think when you do again a race, and you are in a route that it's helpful in a way. It's helpful. And we finally arrived at the top of the hills. We saw some Oka banderole, and yeah, we arrived at the finish line, and it was pretty funny because they didn't expect us to arrive so early. I think we broke the course record, and so there were like no photographer. There were like Robin. She's really nice. She works with for Vibram, and I think she was helping. And one of the co-race directors. So they were super nice. We did a kind of interview, chit chat. But at the end, actually, like a few weeks later, I asked, "Do you have any picture of the finish line?" We had nothing. So it was, but it was nice because usually now UTMB is getting bigger and bigger, and this remind me like a very local race where you arrive and you get a sausage at the end or a pie. And
Yeah.
actually, even the cooker was asleep, and he was super nice because he wake up, I think, a bit earlier, and he prepared for us a nice burritos or omelette. I don't remember, but it was
Yeah.
pretty good. And yeah, I was so cold when Tommy arrived. Yeah, of course, a bit of a pain in the legs. I didn't have even the occasion to congrats him. Like the time I stand up, I arrived, he left, and so and Anthony has to leave because he had to crew the other guy. So and me, I had to see my wife and the people that I'm coaching. So we went to bed pretty early, and yeah, and that's the end of the story. And what is crazy, I didn't mention it, but uh, I had three headlamps because I always have a bad experience with headlamps. Like in mute, I had to do 1 hour in the dark without a headlamp because I had three battery of Petzl, and I changed the three batteries, and I still didn't have a lamp at the end, like crazy. And this time, I tried the Phoenix, and I had uh, two headlamps of Phoenix and an extra headlamp just in case, and I just had to use one Phoenix. So
Oh,
I
nice.
think for you,
Yeah, I know
yeah.
you were testing that. You were working with that on our last run. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You remember? We
Yeah.
tried it together. Yeah, because same. Also, I'm very bad with the all the gear. So I wanted to try. So I did a night run with a Phoenix headlamp, and I tried the second one, which was a replacing headlamp, but I didn't have to use it. So I just use the main one. So yeah, I do recommend. I think I hesitated to try another brand called Gollum, something like that. But the Phoenix, it's Abel who advised me to use it in during the Quebec Mega Trail last year, and I really recommend it. It's a great
Nice.
brand.
Yeah.
Yes. And they are supporting me also now, so that's why I want to give a double double shots here.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
give them the props for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
they are efficient and they are nice. So yes, why not?
Well, man, congratulations. I mean, it sounds like it was quite the adventure out there with I mean, some of the conditions being a little bit, a little bit tricky, like making sure you're managing your heat early on. I actually had a little bit of an exchange with David Roach earlier today, just through email, um, about some things about sort of the experiences that a lot of people have had recently with these cold long ultras and experiences of hypothermia, just get some high profile ones,
Yes,
with Courtney DeWalter and David Sinclair, Ruth Croft, and Matt Daniels, all having issues in recent races with core temperature dropping and things along those lines. And I was sort of asking, is this where people are going into the race trying to do things kind of minimally, essentially with their gear and stuff like that, and then raising the effort early in the race to bring their temperature up, right? And when you do that, you overwork and your body starts to lose its ability to regulate temperature and you
yeah,
have less layers on and these sorts of things. So, when you had talked about having gloves on, 2 layers, warm hat, all this kind of stuff early on in the race, I was wondering, uh, you know, if you think that that had a positive effect on you in some ways, like maybe keeping your effort a little bit lower early on. You were saying you were hiking the hills, you were trying to be conservative in that first half. And in some of these poor condition long ultras, I wonder if that is even more important to having a good performance in that, like, you don't get your body into that shutdown mode. You keep the effort where it's supposed to be. You keep your body temperature in a manageable area. You're taking in the calories constantly. That's the other, one of the other, pieces of it. Um, but I wonder because I think we're running shorter distances for a long time. So like you go run a 25K, you're gonna not wear anything. You're gonna let your body, you're gonna let your body warm up everything. You're gonna wear as little as possible
yes,
because you're never, you're going to be running so hot anyway. But you do that in a you do that in a long ultra, you're going to get cold.
yes. No,
Yeah.
no, you are perfectly right, and it's funny that you're mentioning that because yeah, we talked with Corinne today from the feed. She mentioned me for Cocodonia, like the Courtenay experience, and other people also at that. I was supposed to talk with David, but I know that yeah, David Sinclair had also this experience, and it's funny like yeah, like how you mentioned these people, but you're right. I didn't make the connection, but probably I had I hate being cold. I get cold very easily, and I don't know. I was thinking rather than carrying all this mandatory gear, I prefer to have it on me. And after I know, I was pretty comfortable with it. At some point, I told my wife, okay, next station, I change and I give it to you, and I change clothes and I will wear just one layer. And finally, I was not too bad on it, so I kept it. And after it was the night, so I kept it until the end. And I had even this these leggings, this pants for all the race. And I think some people look at me like, with this guy, like it's not very professional to come back to it. Especially it's my old. I think I bought it like 10 years ago. It's a old legging with a lot of holes on it, but it's good for aero. And yeah.
Another quick question. Did you have any issues with the poison oak?
But this is another thing. I think with all the layers, I had zero issue with the Poisonox. Like the two people in coaching, they were like they still have some. One of the guy had to go to hospital a few weeks later. So yeah, it was not in the strategy, but I maybe I was lucky enough to to have all these layers and I yeah no issue. And also in my head, I have now my objective of the year is UTMB. And so my objective, like I will have to work for UTMB. And so working was part of the training also for UTMB. And UTMB also you had like Anton Krupika is coming back this year for UTMB, but I remember one of the story when he came like without a t-shirt and he got a big hypothermia. And even though I like to be minimalist, this year I partner with Wise, which is a French brand. We do very nice bag and very nice jacket. So I just received it, and yeah, I'm gonna try to train with a jacket in Colorado and get to it because in UTMB it can be cold. It can be very cold, and you mentioned it. Nowadays, hypothermia is one of the risk. People are lighter and lighter, putting a lot of effort, and I think this is something you need to get prepared and having a good gear and a good strategy and maybe being a bit more humble and cautious at the start can save you through the end.
Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of UTMB, maybe it is time to sort of move on to some of the things that are upcoming here.
Yes.
Um, you're preparing for UTMB. You're going to Colorado to do some work, but conceivably, like most of the preparation is going to be here on the East Coast, or are you going to be out there for a while?
No, no, my East Coast training is over.
Okay, so you're going to be at altitude for the remainder of the time.
So I go in color. I come in. So my friend Cyril, who is in Arepa, he just left his job in there. He has a 1 year garden leave. So for 1 year, I will become a professional as well.
Yeah.
And no, it's cool because I think he's a great athlete and a good friend of mine. And so he cannot leave the US. So I was supposed I had a reservation to Chamonix to prepare a Marathon du Mont Blanc and UTMB and stay in France all May, June, July, August. And actually, I shift a bit my plan and I will stay all June with Cyril in Colorado in Fairplay. So we took altitude like Airbnb over there and we'll train in Buena Vista, in Salida, in all this area.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you know people there, happy to connect to discover new routes and new people. I have already yeah a few connections, but yeah, just message me at the Magic Runner or Ferdinand, and yeah, I would be happy to run with you or discover new places. So
Nice.
basically, yeah, that's the plan. 3 weeks Colorado, and then I have a flight the 25th. I arrive 26th in Geneva with Fanny, my wife, and we drive from Geneva to Chamonix. So we'll be there in the afternoon. I will sleep probably 5, 6 hours, and then at 4 a.m. I race Marathon du Mont Blanc 90K. So it's a kind of risk because I will probably be tired of the jet lag and everything, but I want to have a big block in Colorado, and I prefer to sacrifice this race and having nice prep to UTMB rather than performing marathon.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, you had mentioned earlier about um, the Will Murray double, right? The
Yes,
the uh, the the long ride followed by a long run with pace,
yes.
right? So um, take me through this workout. What you think this does for let's say 100 mile training. If you think this is something that most people doing 100 miles should do, and just kind of like um, take us through it, because that when you said, I was like 200K followed by, what was it? Was it 25K? Yeah, and with pace, right? And
So yeah,
are they like really back to back? Is it like one into the other?
yeah,
Like,
this is the idea. Is so actually, so it's so it depends once again to everyone, but why Will Murray was doing that? I mean, you need to invite him on the podcast because
I will, but I want a little insight here to
he will
beforehand.
talk about it much better. But I guess he wouldn't mind me speaking about this. He's very open to his training, and he's actually a great cyclist. And I think his coach is a coach by TCS, and his coach is also ex pro cyclist. So they both trust in and like biking. And also Will, it's extraordinary because he has the level of a pro. I mean, I guess he's probably better than me, and he has a full-time job. He's a teacher, maths teacher, so he's working with teenagers all day. So he has kind of flexibility to train over the day. So he has not a bad setup, but he has a job, and basically he can. His most of his training he has to do it during the weekend, and I think even I'm not even sure he's working Saturday, but he has to do it basically on Sunday. He has to do a big block. And what he has been doing, I think, the past few weeks, you can watch his he is low profile. I don't think he has Instagram, but he has he put everything on Strava, and he has been doing like yeah 8 to 10 hours of effort in the bike, followed just after by a long effort on the run. And the idea is to create a pre-fatigue. So you ride your bike Z1, Z2, and when I did it with him, we did 220K, 240K, so a bit more, yeah, a bit, I don't know, 140 miles, something like that.
Wow.
And we arrived to the car and we changed for 5, 10 minutes. We drank and we had everything ready, but basically within 15 minutes you are back on the trails. And we were supposed to do this day 3 hours, and we finally did just 2 hours. But it was at race pace. The idea is really race pace. So that
Wow.
means that the first like on the flat we were 4 minutes per k. So it's like I don't know, 6 minute pace, something like that. On uphill, I couldn't follow him. So I arrived there, I was like feeling bad. And on downhill, he couldn't follow me. So I pushed like we were like, I was 3 minutes per K. So three, yeah, 5 minutes per mile, sub 5 on downhill. So we were pushing each other. And I love the session because on the bike, he is very strong. So I stayed in his wheel
Mhm.
for maybe 90%. I saved my energy because I was not sure I could do that. I mean, he's so strong. And on the run, first uphill, I thought it would be a nightmare, but I was lucky enough that he had stomach issue, so I could challenge him on the second part of the run. And yeah, he was happy because at some point he told me, you know, Ferdi, I think I cannot continue. I said, no, come on. In Western State, you if you are in this like it's what we are looking basically. We are looking to be bad. At the start of the run, I was feeling not great. At the end of the run, he was not feeling great. Like, and what is good is once again when you train as a team, you can push each other. And yeah, this is the how I see this workout is you put yourself in a bad situation, but you don't destroy yourself like in a ultra race because the pre-fatigue is on the bike, and so you have just a nervous fatigue, a mental fatigue, of course a bit of physical fatigue, but your legs are pretty fresh, and you can run without injuring yourself, and this is the idea. And because yeah, it was a bit costly to bring my bike in Colorado and France. I'm not sure I will be able to ride so much. So I tried to do a bit more biking this week. And so I tried to do it again. So I did 220K followed directly by 25K. So it was 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. Yes. I was not really in race pace because I had to meet someone who wants coaching. So we thought it was kind of easy one, Z2 at the start, and I pushed a bit the end. But you know the idea. The idea is like
Yeah.
trying to do this kind of break is pushing the second the run on but by being tired. And this is not supposed to be easy. Like if you are struggling, that's normal. That's what you are looking for. You are looking for okay. How I listened to Kilian Jornet actually this morning taking the breakfast. There is a nice podcast called How to Become a Pro Cyclist. And yeah, Kilian is mentioning it as well. It's like at some point you need to learn your body and your mind to run fast on tired legs, and that's what you are doing like by doing this kind of break. And yeah, after yeah if you and especially if you have a full-time job, this is perfect because you can kill yourself during one day and recover during kind of the week, and so it's
Yeah.
perfect for the people who want to prepare a ultra and have a full-time job. And this is also the concept of WEC, the weekend shock. You know, it's Millet, is a French researcher who put that like you train for 2 3 days very hard during the weekend and you recover during the week, and this kind of simulates your race. And I think this is the kind of things you can do by combining heavy weights, combining bike, combining skimo and running. And I think you can play with the season with what you have. If you have snow, you can do skimo during 10 hours and followed by some run. I think it should be very efficient. I never did it, but I think this is an idea to explore.
Yeah, I mean, they talk about stacking blocks every day, but I guess sometimes you can stack a really big block on
Yeah,
a weekend day. Just a big ass block. Um, well,
exactly.
Ferdinand, I think we're gonna have to close it up here pretty soon. I
Yeah,
see.
I have to
Yeah,
cook. I have to cook. I heard my spouse just arrived. Yeah, you
yeah, all
see,
right.
yeah, at 9 p.m. This is like the work you put in a bank. You arrive at
Oh,
9 p.m. You cannot be a professional runner when you are working in a bank, unfortunately.
no,
I tried. I tried. I thought it would be possible. I wake up at 4 in the morning, but yeah, no, at some point you need to sleep, you need to recover. So
no, no.
yeah,
It's all about recovery. It's all about recovery.
exactly. Recovery and yeah, especially yeah, this kind of block. I mean, I don't know how Will is doing with his teaching, but actually he's leaving. He's leaving his job as well. I think I create a pandemic, with everyone leaving the job to become a a project runner or a pro runner or how you call it. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny. So if you want to leave your job, join us. It's a funny experience. It's not easy every day, but it's a nice experience.
Well, us 40 plusers will not join you. Um, but that would be considered retirement at this stage, so it'll be a little bit. Um, but yeah, I mean, have a great time down in New Orleans, and best of luck with your training out in Colorado. I'm sure that's going to be a blast, lots of fun. Be able to really rock the downhills there for sure. Um,
Yes,
and
yes.
then out at the Marathon de Mont Blanc and UTMB. I mean, big time.
For sure. And yeah, I see you before Greenstone, and maybe we do it together, and we can record the podcast at the ramen place after a nice run
Yeah,
to talk about Europe and Colorado training.
yeah. We'll get this trail podcast up
Nice.
sometime.
And
Yeah,
you should reach out to Ben Quattromoni, Will Murray, and David Sinclair. I think there's three guys in the East Coast. A lot to say. I mean, yeah, I'm getting inspired by all the people that I meet for training and racing. So yeah, thank you for creating this
yeah,
community, and let's keep in touch.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, Once again, yeah. Best of luck, and thanks for coming on. To all of you out there listening, thanks for joining us, and happy trails.
Thank you. And don't hesitate